Adeobi, a 34-year-old woman, had been dating Emeka, who was 47, for a little over a year. Adeobi lived on her own, and Emeka also had his own place, but sometimes she would spend the night at his place. Emeka was a handsome, fit, funny, and charitable man. His kindness was what attracted Adeobi to him. He was very thoughtful and always considerate, which made her love him even more. Adeobi had been dealing with PTSD, so she didn't feel comfortable getting intimate with someone until she felt safe and trusted that person. Emeka said he understood this and didn't push her. They didn't become intimate until 2 months into their relationship, but even then, Adeobi was quite drunk, so she was upset the next morning. Emeka comforted her. He didn't get angry or blame her at all. After that, they developed a healthy sex life, but Adeobi was firm that he must always use protection. One time, while they were in the middle of being intimate, Emeka asked if he could remove the condom. Adeobi said no, but Emeka complained that it wasn't feeling good for him and that he couldn't finish with it on. She still said no. Afterward, Emeka didn't cuddle or hold her like he usually did. Instead, he kept quiet. When Adeobi got up to get some water, she asked if he needed anything and leaned over to kiss his cheek. Emeka pulled away from her kiss and muttered, "Oh, now you care about me." Adeobi asked him what that was about, and he told her that he was doing everything to make her happy, but she wouldn't let him enjoy himself because she insisted on using a condom. Adeobi explained that she was very worried about getting pregnant, especially since they lived in a place where getting an abortion was extremely difficult. Emeka responded that she was on birth control, so there shouldn't be an issue. But Adeobi reminded him that birth control isn't 100% effective, and he knew that. She told him that if he got a vasectomy, they could talk about it, because vasectomies are reversible and more reliable. Emeka apologized the next morning for being rude, and even took Adeobi to a spa to make it up to her. Adeobi also apologized for spoiling the night, and they moved on. Everything was fine between them, and around the 6-month mark, Emeka mentioned that he felt they were getting serious and considered Adeobi his partner. He brought up the issue of condoms again, and Adeobi reminded him of her stand on the matter. Emeka said he needed to think about it. 2 months ago, Emeka had a work trip that lasted a week and a half. When he returned, he couldn't keep his hands off Adeobi. At that time, Adeobi was going through a rough patch with her depression, which sometimes got really bad. Emeka seemed annoyed and even commented that Adeobi was punishing him for missing her and loving her so much. He held her face and started kissing her, and after some back and forth, Adeobi gave in, and they had sex. In the middle of it, Emeka asked if he could take off the condom, and when Adeobi said no, he suddenly mentioned that he had gotten a vasectomy. He was so excited to be with her that he forgot to tell her earlier. Foolishly, Adeobi agreed. After that, Emeka stopped using condoms altogether. When Adeobi's period was late, she initially thought it was due to stress, a change in diet, or other reasons. But something kept bothering her, so she decided to take a pregnancy test, and it turned out she was pregnant. Emeka found her crying on his bathroom floor and asked what was wrong. When she told him, he smiled and laughed, saying, "That's amazing, baby." He then went into the other room, whooping with joy. When he returned, Emeka started talking excitedly about how he had dreamt of this, and that it must be a sign. Adeobi, confused, asked him about the vasectomy. Emeka casually mentioned that it wasn't 100% effective, just like condoms and birth control pills. Adeobi was puzzled because the only form of protection they had stopped using was condoms. Emeka said it was a miracle, but Adeobi wasn't having it. She told him that she was going to visit her best friend, who lived in another state, and would also take the opportunity to visit a reproductive health clinic there. Emeka went silent for a moment, then asked if she hated him that much. Adeobi didn't understand what he meant. She reminded him that she never wanted to be pregnant, and he knew this about her. That hadn't changed. Emeka became extremely angry, saying that she wouldn't dare end his child's life. He said that if she loved him, she would never threaten to do such a thing again. He promised to take care of her and the baby, adding that he made plenty of money and treated her like a queen. All he was asking was that she have the baby. Adeobi, feeling overwhelmed, started packing her things to go home, but Emeka followed her, repeating things like, "You won't, right? You won't end my baby's life." He kept asking where she was going, and she said she was going home because she was too tired and emotional to deal with the situation. But Emeka blocked the doorway, saying they needed to talk about it. Adeobi started getting upset because he was blocking her way, and she felt trapped. She asked him to move, but he refused, saying, "You're not leaving." "What part of that don't you get?" Adeobi started crying, grabbed her phone, and backed away from him, telling him to stay away from her. Emeka looked really sad and said he couldn't believe she was serious. He would never hurt her. He asked her to stop crying, but Adeobi demanded that he let her leave, so he finally did. Since then, Emeka has been calling and texting her, begging her to talk to him. He says she really hurt him by pretending to be scared of him, as he would never harm her. Emeka also accused her of playing the helpless victim and said that such actions could ruin a man's life. He even questioned if her mind was playing tricks on her again. Adeobi sometimes says, "My brain is lying to me again," whenever she experiences a PTSD or depressive episode. It's her way of making the situation seem less heavy. Emeka has a very public job in the community, and Adeobi remembers the look on his face when she backed away from him. She doesn't want to ruin his life or their relationship. In that moment, her emotions were so high that she just reacted, but she wasn't pretending. She sat in her car, shaking for what felt like ages before she could drive home. Adeobi has been ignoring his attempts to reach out, but now she feels like a coward. She keeps questioning herself. Adeobi had set boundaries from the beginning, and Emeka had lied about getting a vasectomy. When she got pregnant, she felt devastated because she had made it clear that she didn't want to have children. Adeobi made an appointment and got an abortion. It was a horrible experience, but her best friend was with her, and the clinic staff were kind and supportive. She is grateful for the support she received. On Wednesday, Emeka texted Adeobi, apologizing and saying that he didn't mean the things he said. He asked her to answer his calls, but she continued to ignore him. When he called again, her best friend recorded the conversation. Emeka went on and on about how amazing Adeobi is, how much he loves her, and what a great mother she would be. He even said he would marry her immediately if that was a concern for her. When Adeobi finally got the chance to speak, she told him that she was no longer pregnant and never wanted to be. She reminded him that she had been clear about this from the beginning. Emeka asked if it was a miscarriage, insisting that she couldn't have willingly ended the pregnancy. He urged her to say it was a miscarriage, claiming that it wasn't the woman's fault when that happened and that they could try again. Adeobi firmly told him that they were never trying to begin with. She was on birth control, and he claimed to have had a vasectomy. Then, Emeka laughed and admitted that he lied about the vasectomy just to get her to stop insisting on using condoms. He said he had decided long ago that Adeobi was perfect for him and that he loved her and wanted her to be the mother of his children. At this point, Adeobi's best friend, who had been listening, spoke up and told Emeka that the conversation was recorded and to leave Adeobi alone, or she would post it on social media. Emeka started screaming at them, calling Adeobi a witch and a hateful murderer who had broken his heart. He warned her that if she tried to tarnish his reputation, she should remember that actions have consequences. He then broke up with her and said he would check back in a few days when she was thinking clearly, and they would talk in person to see if she had come to her senses. Emeka wanted them to go to church together on Sunday, which was the next day, and even set a time to pick her up. Adeobi told him no, but she has a security camera at her door, and sure enough, he showed up at her house. The camera recorded him noting that her car wasn't there, and he sent her a message asking if she was cheating on him. He accused her of letting another man sleep with her without using protection, and then demanded a hall pass to do the same. Emeka told Adeobi to come home immediately because they needed to come to an understanding about their relationship as soon as possible. Adeobi is supposed to return home tomorrow and doesn't know what to do. She has no regrets about her decision to have an abortion and now advocates for women's right to choose. Adeobi's best friend will be going home with her, and a friend who lives in the city has her spare key and is watching her house for her. She feels safer knowing she won't be alone. Adeobi is in a safe location with two male friends who know the whole story. They are considering their options, but she doesn't want to do anything hasty. Another male friend is at her home, and so far, everything has been quiet. She plans to update everyone when she knows more. Adeobi has received some alarming messages, with some people even suggesting that she harm herself. She firmly states that she will not do that. For those who claim to be pro-life, she points out the hypocrisy of wanting her to take her own life. She explains that she doesn't want to get pregnant because her doctors have told her that there is a high risk of both her and the baby dying before delivery. Unfortunately, she cannot get a tubal ligation or hysterectomy until she turns 40 due to local laws and insurance policies. Even if she could afford it out of pocket, she would still need a husband's signature, which she finds unacceptable. Adeobi mentions that she might consider adoption in the future if she finds the right partner and is settled. Adeobi appreciates the support and advice from people telling her to protect herself from Emeka. She's starting to see that he never respected her boundaries and tried to trap her into a long-term relationship or marriage. She trusted him so much that she would have happily married him, but now she realizes he was manipulating her. Adeobi doesn't think she can afford a lawyer because she works in the arts and can't manage the costs she's seen online. Her best friend is returning home with her, and she has a friend who is currently house-sitting for her. This gives her some peace of mind. Some people have mentioned that what Emeka did could be considered reproductive violence, and that he might be charged with rape for his actions. Adeobi and her best friend are looking into it, but they're not sure what their state's laws say about this. Emeka wanted Adeobi to go to church with him, which she finds disturbing. He goes to a mega church, but only on holidays. Adeobi never wanted to participate, and only went with him once for Easter because he begged her to. The church was huge, bigger than a 90s shopping mall, with a coffee shop and everything. Recently, Emeka came to Adeobi's home again, but she wasn't there. Her security camera caught him having a total meltdown. He was cursing her, calling her on the phone, and when he reached her voicemail, he muttered, "I'm going to kill her," repeatedly, even saying it loudly before walking away. Adeobi has been receiving a lot of hate mail and texts, mostly from people connected to Emeka's church, calling her a murderer. Her Facebook was flooded with these messages too. Adeobi texted Emeka, warning him that if the harassment didn't stop, she would post all the recordings she had. The calls, his threats, the texts, and voicemails. Emeka replied, saying he had been patient with her, but she was being a brat. He claimed she needed to come to her senses and meet with him, as he would no longer spoil her. He even mentioned that discipline needed to be introduced into their relationship because actions have consequences. On her best friend's advice, Adeobi went to the police, but not much has come of it so far. She expected this, given that the town is small and many of the people, including members of the police department, attend Emeka's church. Things escalated when Adeobi sent some of the recordings to Emeka's parents, who are on staff at the local mega church. His mother responded and asked to meet with Adeobi. Adeobi went with her best friend to a public spot in the city. During the meeting, Emeka's mother was very apologetic and said that Emeka's position at the church had been terminated. The church staff would meet to decide on further consequences as his church family. Emeka's mother confided in Adeobi that she herself had an abortion before Emeka was born. She made that decision because the father was manipulative and abusive, and she wasn't ready to be a mother, even if she had a loving partner. She later met Emeka's father, married him, and had her children. She told Adeobi that whether she had an abortion or a miscarriage, she should not be harassed by Christians claiming to be pro-life. Adeobi felt an immense sense of relief hearing those words, especially after the vile messages she had received. Emeka's sister also reached out to Adeobi via text, expressing that she does not support what her brother has been doing and offering her support. Adeobi later found out that Emeka was arrested for assault, but she didn't know who he assaulted or why. Since he had put her down as his partner, the authorities called her to pick him up after he was released, likely after sobering up. She didn't go. Since then, she has been looking for a new place to live because Emeka knows her address and has come by several times. Currently, she's staying with two of her best friends, using her house mainly for storage until she finds a new place. Despite everything, Adeobi has been feeling really happy lately. Her friends threw her a "use that fetus" party, decorating the place with troll comments from her last post. They even made a piñata filled with condoms, small bottles of lube, and pieces of paper representing Emeka's texts and messages from his church friends. As a final surprise, they collected donations for a reproductive health clinic near Adeobi's city and pledged hours to volunteer there. They are also planning a summer trip together to kick off a hot girl summer. The two male friends Adeobi is staying with check on her house regularly. One time, they saw Emeka there and made it clear to him that she was protected and that any further trouble would have consequences. This was all recorded on her security camera, and Adeobi found it satisfying to watch. Emeka later sent her a text, calling her a cruel witch who ruined his life and broke his heart, all because he loved her. However, he also mentioned that he was leaving the state soon for a new job and told her not to bother acting scared of him anymore. He ended the message by saying that he would always love her and hoped that one day she would find the love she had buried for him in her heart. Adeobi thought to herself that he needed to take the sweetness out of his words because she wasn't buying it anymore. Even though things have been getting better, Adeobi admits that everything isn't sunshine and roses. She has been in a lot of therapy, realizing that she overlooked many red flags and needs to unlearn people-pleasing behaviors to become a more confident and authentic version of herself. Her friends don't fully believe that Emeka is leaving town, so she's still staying with them for now. While she loves them like family, she's looking forward to having her own place again. Adeobi later received some shocking news. Emeka was arrested again, but this time for murder. He had gotten drunk at a local bar and started talking to a retired Marine who mentioned his wife's abortion. They fought, and Emeka got beaten up. After the Marine left, another regular teased Emeka for losing the fight, which led to another altercation. Emeka threw the guy into a wall. The man seemed fine for a few days, but eventually died from his injuries. Emeka's father later asked Adeobi to testify to his character and to say that her abortion had caused him to act this way, but she refused. By the time she heard this news, Adeobi had already taken a new job in Abuja and was preparing to move. She only took the essentials with her and had a wonderful summer traveling with friends before settling into her new home. Abuja turned out to be a fun and exciting city, and she's been enjoying her time there. She even decided to adopt a senior Yorkie and possibly an adult Rottweiler, which she's excited about. Adeobi is feeling optimistic for the first time in a long time, and she's grateful for the kindness and support she received from everyone during this difficult period.